Put in a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is Rift Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Well, hello, everybody, and how you doing? This is Becon in the Dark on the RNN Network. And, of course, I am Susan and
Marcy.
Marcy. So, today, positivity. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to all of the Rift Nation Network channels. And don't forget to check out the brand spanking new Rift Network mobile app. So definitely download it. You can go to the Travelers or over to the RNN page, and you can download that. There's a lot of we'll have a lot more updates on it and a lot more things. And if you're out and you're driving and you want to catch a show, you can catch it right there on the mobile app. It's Spaces by Wick, and it's of course the Rift Nation Network. So definitely like, subscribe, and follow. So it's a pretty weird and strange things that are coming up. And before I forget, don't forget to check out our sponsors, which help pay for the network, which of course is Booze Paranormal, Let's see, Ghost of Stanton and SS Crystal and Crafts, mostly Crafts lately. But she's having fun. It's very strange when you talk about yourself in the third party, don't you think? So I positively think that it's okay for me to talk like in the third person.
Well, as long as we're all listening, we don't talk back, we're all good.
I don't know. I've talked back to myself on a couple occasions. I really have. I've told myself I'm in the middle of doing something, or you go in the kitchen and you can't remember what you go into the kitchen to get. You walk back out, you sit down, and you go, "Oh my God, you dumbass! Get back up, go in the kitchen."
Well, that's a normal one.
But I positively find that funny.
Which is our theme today.
Yes, I positively find that funny. Do you guys know what positivity means? Don't forget to share the show out when you get a chance. If you're on Facebook, hit all of those likes and those little heart buttons. That lets Facebook metadata lets them know that you guys like us. They like us. Sorry, I know. I'm positively goofy today. Thank you, Renee. Renee's a sweetheart. She shares everybody's show out. But the reason for positivity is because of something that's coming. So we're going to get into a little bit of what is coming. And again, I'm shocking Marcy and throwing a curveball in here. And I love doing that to her because I need her blank spiritual insight from her guides about what they say. So I throw curveballs in just so they can say right off the bat what their opinion is that's actually happening.
Susan, are you talking
Ah,
about the message?
so what I am actually talking about is the fact for 2 months, we're going to actually have two moons, which stresses people out. They get stressed, they get worried, they get concerned. But actually, people are calling them two moons, but is it two moons? It's an asteroid that will be with us until the end of November. That will be floating in the atmosphere. Is it going to cause a problem with the other moon? Are the tides going to come up stronger? I'm very close to the ocean. So things like that I think about. But I also know that I can swim. So on the positive aspect, I can swim.
Well,
My dog hates the water, but I'm sure he will too. What's your opinion on this?
the two moons, and they were talking about like one being the feminine, and then we're bringing in like the masculine and the balance of the energies that are going on.
Right.
That's what I read. They're already starting to kick in on the tones. But
Ah,
I don't know if you've just done a breakthrough recently, but they want to say they're proud of you. I guess something happened like 2 days ago, or
I made a monster.
well, you're crocheting, yeah.
No, a couple of days ago, I did go live again, and I had a thought about how to change it and how I want to do it because I'm really into the crochet and I do want people to be able to see the products they have. So I've decided to do two cameras on the sponsors page, which is the SS Personal Crafts, and have someone watch me crochet. Well, they get to look at products in case they want to purchase. So this way, it's a win-win to me. So people are actually seeing what I'm creating. And I was like, epiphany. We'll do it that way. So that was my epiphany. Renee says that her class of students are off the hook, off the damn hook.
The what?
Her students. Renee's a teacher. Renee coach. She's the one that
Well, what does Renee teach?
kids,
Well, what age?
little short human people.
Yeah. Indigo little children?
I don't know.
The hybrid
Renee, how
children?
old is your class? I don't know how old. I know that they're off the hook,
Okay.
but I don't know how old they are.
It was funny. I was listening to Bashar talk about when we have our children
Right.
and their personalities or their structure or their code, whatever it is, it forms between age 3 and 7. So they talk about a lot of crib deaths. A lot of them decide they don't want to come in.
Right.
And so that's when their personalities are already set into who and what they are. We
Huh.
can't change who and what they are because that's their contract type of thing. And speaking of, I was talking to um, Susan, where my inner child, as far as my gambling or my apathy, I came into like a light bulb moment. It's like I'd see pictures of my daughter with her friends, and I'd see pictures of all these her relatives, and that inner child me, I realized was upset, hurt, angry, and so a lot of times in the inner child workbook, we go and we hug each level of our inner child. And so there's like that energy that's releasing. And so I had to let go of that apathy energy and get more integrated with my inner child being happy and not hurt and sad. It may
Right.
take a week, but I had to integrate all that energy. So we have our different aspects that are coming through that we don't know, whether it's our inner child, our trauma. And it cracks me up. But Bashar says, well, raise your frequency. How are we supposed to raise our frequency if we don't know what's wrong with us?
Exactly. It's
You know?
true.
Oh, raise
It's
it.
true.
Well, if
It
we don't
really
know
is.
what's
It's true.
on,
And that's why positivity is so important. But Renee
right.
teaches kindergarten, and I think we need to send her healing and loving light for dealing with a bunch of kindergarten kids. So, all I can say is thank God you're not in Florida because I have identical twin granddaughters that will be starting preschool, and next year they will be in kindergarten. So, yeah, that's going to be a trip. They look exactly alike. So, many blessings for you.
Oh, the
Linda
identical.
Nielsen, her, I think grandson or son just started kindergarten. She says he's a little charmer with a dash of sass. Kids are cool. They really are. Excuse me, one moment. Babe, are you still here? Honey, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Can you get me that fan thing you bought me? Because I'm dying of the heat over here. Yeah, it
Oh,
should be right next to the light bulb right crochet.
Susan, they're coming through. I got that Stevie Wonder energy.
Okay, you
Oh,
tone, I'll get this.
okay. Those were pitches I haven't heard before.
Are you talking about your glasses?
No, babe, I'm talking about the fan I bought at the dollar store that you open up. It should be right over near the light bulb.
Oh, okay. I know.
Sorry. My fan in my office, in my defense, broke. Well, it didn't broke. It was so loaded with dust that when you try to take it apart, you can't take it apart. And I'm allergic to dust, so it really stunk. So she has 4 sets of twins this year in her
Wow.
classroom.
Here you go.
Holy heck. Thank you. It's this. Wow. Yes, that's my sexy man.
And there's your fan with the man.
Look, it's my biggest fan. So, and when we go through things and we deal with things, believe it or not, when it brings up anger and resentment, and then we kind of have a tendency to work through it. But when we work through it, we're conquering.
Right. Well, we're owning and integrating.
What it is that we are supposed to deal with. We're conquering, and we're actually working more towards positivity is what we're doing. So even though, and that's what some people call it shadow work, Marcy calls it, dealing with the inner child. So I know I look like, oh my God, I got the vapors. Cheers. You know what the vapors are? I keep switching subjects here. You know what the vapors are? Gas.
Oh.
Why couldn't they just say, yo, I gotta leave the room?
Yeah,
I gotta leave the room. Yeah, I don't want to stick it up. No, they go, oh my God, I think I got the
Hey,
vapors.
Susan?
Yes.
What's interesting is as I'm working through all this energy and I'm owning and releasing and letting my inner child express, it's like in the last few days, I've been getting images of like me being a mermaid energy.
Oh, wow.
But then I'm also getting like this eagle energy. And so I realize it's like as above and below.
Right.
It's like that whole balance of energy as,
Right.
you know,
Because water
integrating.
is cleansing, especially mermaid. That's salt water, so that's cleansing energy. And
Right.
then right, and then flying through the skies when you're flying, you're creating movement as well. So yeah, don't mind my fan here today, guys. The other one broke.
So it's that integration, the animals, the visions, whatever it is going on, and releasing more of that um, cortisol carbon energy.
Right.
I don't know if you guys could feel I'm lighter, but there's things will surface like all of a sudden. It's like, oh, okay. Like when I'm driving, I'm like, that was my inner child mad, or sad or
Yeah.
upset. I couldn't say angry because behind the anger there's sadness. Once
Right.
we work through that,
Right.
then we release that heavy carbon energy, and then we get more playful, loving, fanning.
I know. I am so sorry. Flying fish, maybe. That's from Robert White, flying fish. So, do you guys know what positivity is? All right. And actually, here's the thing there's been some scientific research that actually proves the power of positivity. Now, the scientific evidence, including studies from the Mayo Clinic, thinks that a positive attitude is tangible to health benefits such as low risk for depression, cardiovascular disease, and heart disease. It's actually a critical ally to your overall well being. Researchers always found that individuals with a positive self perceptions have significantly lower risk of death and tend to live up to 7.5 years longer. Also, it states, and again, this is all the research I did. Okay, and that it's just the beginning. The Mayo Clinic has also found that the possibility builds up resistance against mental health issues, stress induced disorders, enhances your physical health, enhances your overall quality of life, which I truly believe in. Now, engaging in positive self talk is embracing its optimism, acceptable steps
I
towards
mean,
planting the seeds towards a brighter perspective. It's not just a change in language, it's the established path that leads to more joy and life fulfillment. What do you think of them apples?
the apples are good. I, I'm flashing on. It's like when I didn't care about taking my meds, and I didn't care about paying my bills. And then I was realizing all this stuff was triggering. And so I had to take it back. But
Right,
those layers were not aware that we're doing that. And so people get apathetic, they get
right,
addicted, they get numb, they get whatever it is that's going on, and
exactly.
they don't, and they're like, I'm fine. And then they get that part that you were talking about, because it gets more and more heavier on that energy because we push it down and we don't feel it. And
Now,
so,
let's take people with actual medical conditions right now. People that are individuals, anybody, male, female, it doesn't matter, that have medical conditions. Now, if they don't remain positive when dealing with the severity of medical conditions, it causes a more negative affect. Again, proof to point. Marcy just went through finding out she was diabetic. She went through it. She's adjusted. She's done this. She's done that, and she's actually her energy is a lot more clearer than what it was. So she didn't falter and go, "Oh my God, that's it. I can never eat chocolate again." She didn't do that. She embraced the positive aspects of it, and that's actually it's a good thing. Is what it is. It really does
oh,
help
it is,
maintaining
but
a positive attitude.
I stopped taking my meds because I played with my money and I was getting mad at myself. So I was in this vicious circle and I was getting tired of this vicious circle. And that's where I was coming into all this stuff. And so I'm like, okay, I have the last of my money. I'm going to get my meds. My my blood count was, glucose was up to 206 without the meds. I did recently start back taking the meds, so now 162.
Right.
And maybe it's like releasing that energy or that emotion or the catalyst that's going on. They're coming through. I need to do another tone. Somebody feels like I'm triggering something within somebody on their chakra, their first or their second chakra. So I'm going to do a low tone. It's like it's surfacing. It's like one of the things I used to do, or I did with a friend of mine, was tones and tarot, where I couldn't see her. She's a friend of mine in England that's also an excellent reader, and did the cards, and I did the tones along with the cards to whatever that part of the body was that was surfacing, because I would work and things would trigger with her that were going on. And it was kind of an interesting, because they have a music, they've had studies with music and healing.
Right.
A lot more people heal with music, whether it's tones or the energy, whatever's going on to that.
Right.
The body gets better. But I'm going to hit a low tone because somebody needs to release something. Does what I say to anybody trigger what they're going through, or trigger their inner child, or trigger something with their children?
Right.
Because something seems stuck on somebody that it needs to come through. Somebody's energy is screaming.
Okay, I don't know yet, but again, we're always on a delay. So Linda says she likes the idea of keeping a positive attitude, but can't say that I'm good all the time. So there's no such thing as a perfect person. We don't
No, we
exist.
have our emotions.
That's a good thing. She also said, but I've noticed with light workers and people who help people seem positive almost all the time. I can't fathom that they are always on the positive train all the time. She doesn't quite understand it or get it. Well, for
They're not
me,
positive.
yeah, it's like I might look like I'm positive all the time to you guys, but I'm not. I falter too. We all do. We're human beings. There's no such thing as a perfect individual. You manage to catch yourself, like I said at the beginning of the show. I go in the kitchen. I can't remember what I said. I sit down and then I go, damn, you idiot. I call myself names. It's one of the things you shouldn't do. Because, even though I know I'm joking and it's just what I'm saying, it's the way I speak, other people will take it as, oh my God, you're calling. No, I'm not. It's just the way that I am. But it's maintaining the positivity. Sometimes it is a little hard, but it can be done. Oh, this feels too
Well,
good.
also there's a lot of fake spiritualists. My sister is a narcissist, and she was like love and light, but she was also like really greedy and self-centered. So a lot of these people that come off like love, peace, and granola, a lot of them are not really dealing with the real issue.
Now you made me hungry.
And it's like, okay, like we missed our week because I had my crazy week and then Susan had hers, so we didn't do last week. But then the last episode, Susan was going through her emotional stuff. Mine was more of a quieter, where I got stuck in the apathy of playing. And then I realized now it's just stuff I needed to surface. So It will come in different ways, but we're still spiritual. We're still working through. We're still
Exactly
whatever it is that's going on.
Yeah.
And then that's where I trust the more real psychics, that yell, scream, express. It's all those love, peace, and granola ones. They usually have some type of disease, or they don't know what they're talking about. And a lot of healers, I don't let them touch me. I'm like, well, where are you working on your energy?
Yes. Linda loves love, peace, and granola. She loves that. It's difficult. Yes, I exploded. And the reason I exploded is I work really hard in doing things and created things. And when I created my pages, I worked really hard at them and I did a lot of effort and sharing. And then once it got hacked and I lost everything, including all my mother's stuff, it was kind of like a little heart wrenching shadow work to get through. Learned to keep pictures. And now I actually have physical copies of all my photos. But I think the point with me is that I worked so hard on these things and I worked hard to build up positive people and a repertoire with some of the items that I was creating before. And now it's like no matter what I do lately, it seems like I'm always wrong. Just, I'm sharing a funny video and it's wrong. It's not that it's wrong. It's just for some reason, people or individuals out there, they get more and more, they get offended by everything. And I have just learned to kind of laugh it off. I mean, literally,
Well,
you got to learn to laugh it off. A lot of individuals will take so much, so personally, that offends me. That offends me. If I told my mother and my father I was offended by something as a kid, I would have got a kick in the ass and tell me to get going. It doesn't work that way.
well, and that's like my therapist said that
Yeah.
I had a fear of when I was 30, before I even had my kids, because my father would throw things away. You had a
Right.
fear like you would build things up and they'd be taken away. And that was all
Exactly.
part of what I was going through with my daughter. I'm like, look, I gave love to my daughter. I sacrificed. I did all this other stuff. And yeah, I'm glad she's happy.
Right.
But that other part of me is like, where is the credit that I am? I have two grandchildren. They don't know who I am. She doesn't
Right.
want to talk to them. And so there was a lot of that emotional energy. So I just got stuck where I didn't want to go home last week. So I stayed and I played,
Right.
spent my money. So it's like I was talking to another friend of mine about our detriments and our addictions and how we're dealing with
Right.
stuff and whatever our emotions are.
Right.
And the more we own it and release it and then let it go, scream into a pillow, paint, whatever it is that you want to go into. Because that energy is like that emotional weight loss, which will get more and more happiness,
Right.
more and more being blissful. Once I cleared all that stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling blissful, which is also the energy of like, I let it go.
Exactly. And that's what it is. And that's why with me, myself, and I'm sure you guys out there have things that you're still working on in order to maintain that positivity. These parts of ourselves that are not, everybody calls them not perfect. I call it humanity. We're humans. Nobody's perfect. And that's the thing. You just need to voice it, release it, find a way to let it go, because if you don't speak about it, how can you be optimistic about it? And that's one of the things. Number one is being optimistic. And it's really hard to be an optimist about what could happen. It's like, okay, is the glass half full or half empty? Why do you care if it's half full or half empty? If it's always empty, then you're going to go thirsty. If it's got something in there, then focus what's there. In other words, we're all different. We all have different financial situations. We all have different educations, different aspects. We're all uniquely us. Just focus on what you do have. Be optimistic about the positive aspects of what is there, and that's the hardest part. And so for me, myself, like for Marcy, feeling like, and again, I would, if I was to say what Marcy's feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like you feel like no matter how hard you try, you sometimes feel like you're not getting enough love because of what happened to you as a child. Just like I feel no matter what I do, it's never good enough. And
Yeah,
that's me. I feel like no matter what I do, it's never good enough.
well,
So,
and
and
that's
I keep trying and I keep plugging and I keep going. So we
part
all
of
have
all
these
this.
things.
Part of all this that I also read about the trauma, we self-sabotage, and those are
Yes.
the ways of the self-sabotaging. Or it's like part of the thing of the self-sabotaging or the unworthiness was I wasn't paying for my meds. I had the money and I blew it. I wasn't paying my bills. And so
Right.
that then I had like, why am I doing this? Why am I getting angry? And I had to go into it, and I'm like,
Exactly.
we have different aspects, and so, or dimensions, whatever you want to call it, whether it's our trauma, whether it's our post-traumatic, whether it's our inner child. And
Yes.
so we might be on one end be happy with our adult self, and I always joke around say my adult's in conflict with my inner child when I gamble. And
Right.
so my inner child like was winning because it was upset. Now I'm like, now I can take control and take whatever it is, the adult side
Right.
that's going on. And so it's just what are they had that thing about you knock on our each level of our development and knock on the door and say, well, what do you want? What do you need? And then I love how they gave a really good meditation where I read, and I just did this, where you sit and you get yourself relaxed and you ask your soul what your soul needs. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, that's a different aspect. And then your soul will tell you, and then you visualize whatever it is, and then you let it go. And then my soul was like, wants to be acknowledged, wants to be this. And so I was changing everything around. My inner child's now successful. My
Right.
inner child, I visualize a bunch of people loving and giving her stuff at all levels.
Right.
Somebody's had the light bulb moment. I'm feeling something released out of somebody, you
Oh,
know.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really gotten much chat in the chat room, so I wanted to
But
say
well,
welcome
I just
to
I
Rhonda
think
Harris from the Orion Effect. Welcome, welcome aboard. And I know we have, let's see who else we have in here. We have Linda Nielsen, Robert White. I'm trying to link the comments. Renee shared. Thank you so much for Miss Renee. I know, let's see, Michelle was in here. Where'd she go? I could have sworn. There she is. Hello, Michelle Caps. How you doing? So hi to everybody, and that's what it is. When I was talking about like being optimistic, another thing that we need to do to maintain that positivity is practice gratitude. What was I talking about earlier? The glass of milk, half full, half empty. You're only looking at half. You're not looking at the fact that you have milk to drink or have coffee to drink. Well, my cup isn't empty. I'm good. Why are you focusing on the hats rather than what's right there in front of you? I mean, it's be grateful for what it is that you have around you, and it's a really hard way to think sometimes because we all strive to try to get the most we can out of life, or individuals around us sometimes will try to force their emotions on us, which is something you don't, but just keep plugging, keep going. All I can tell you is that you guys will find your niche and be grateful for it. Be grateful that you don't give up. Be grateful that you continue to go. And be grateful when you've made a mistake and rectified it. And do that. It's okay to make mistakes. You rectified it. Good. Somebody else made a mistake. Somebody else made you feel something. Take your power back. Take it
Or
back.
what have I learned? What is this
Exactly.
teaching me? What is
Exactly.
this? Why am I triggered? Because I knew that this vicious was going in my mind over and over. And I'm like, this needs to stop. And I had to look at whatever that energy was or that emotion was, and then acknowledge it and release it. You
Right.
know,
Exactly. I agree with that. So the 5 tips that they recommend, and again, being optimistic is one, practicing gratitude is another. And here's one that I am guilty of not practicing on a regular basis because I call myself names. Because sometimes it's true. My mother called me a bull moose and a china shop my whole life, but I can't help it. I'm not a very dainty female. I never have been. I can't help it. I fall off balance, but I've had an issue with my back my entire life. It just got worse when I was an adult. So, yeah, I am a bull moose in a china shop. I pick stuff up and I drop it, and I can't help it. But, I think nowadays I've learned to laugh it off. Okay, I get it. I laugh it off. So practicing self-talk, it's just even my man, my boyfriend, he knows that I can't always deal with, like, I can't eat without making a mess. I swear to God, you could put a bib on me and it would still be all over the place. I'm sorry, an adult bib, because I can't help it. My hands don't always work right, but yet I work with my hands. I know it's a catch 22 and it's weird. But he looks at it this way, which to me is a positive attitude. He says to me, well, if we ever shift universe and you don't make a mess when you eat, I'm going to get nervous because then I'll know it's really not you. So that makes me chuckle. So that's a positive way of looking at what happens. And that's the way we do it. And that's healthy self talk. What do you do, Marcy? What do you guys do out there?
Well, I'll look at it as like passion. It's like somebody remembers me having cake. I have a small mouth, so a lot of times I'll miss things,
Right.
or you know,
Yeah.
they just don't fit, and it's just it is what it is, and I just let it go. It was like
Right.
things drop, you know, and I have to whatever it is, and I had to erase all that energy because again, my childhood, my dad was telling me I was a pig. I don't think he'd have food spitting out of his mouth. So it's a lot of issues I had to work with, especially with men at the
Right.
dinner table, with whatever it is that's going on.
So
Um,
what did you do to switch that negativity to a positivity in order to help do the
well, I
self talk
realized
better?
some of the places I got, I just didn't get dining rooms. Or dining tables.
Right.
It's like my body just blanked it out completely subconsciously.
Right.
And ironically, I have my parents' old dining room table that we don't even have room for. So it's our laundry table,
Right.
it's our grocery table. It's just there.
Right.
You Travis and I go out and eat, but there's also on the good memories. My mom and I guess, separated and we went out to lunches at places. I do that with Travis,
Right.
you know, and so I carry on that tradition of energy that goes on, and so it's just a matter of getting back into those lost parts of ourselves, getting parts of those inner child,
Right.
learning to play like, oh, okay, well, this dropped. I'm 3 years old. Ha, and then you
Three. I'm 59 and I'm still dropping stuff. Don't worry, you 3-year-olds you
and
got it
then
way over me.
well, and it's like I turned off the TV and some spirit took my remote. I still can't find it. You know, I'm like, oh shoot, I got to get up and go manually change the channel.
Remember
You
those
know,
days?
what?
Here's I'm gonna get another funny thing. You just brought up another funny thing. How
Okay.
many times do you guys lose the remote, right? And you look everywhere, the whole house for the remote, but you won't get up to change the channel. Why? Why don't you just get up and change? Nowadays, it's harder because there's no buttons to push. But
Well,
back
and,
then, when
and
the remotes first come out, you just get up to change the end channel.
well, and they joke around with like in our childhood, we had to go walk the 3 feet across
Yeah.
the shag rug and change the channel. The
Or
five
sit there,
channels that we got to
somebody
watch.
stand next to the antenna, have my baby sister, sorry, Mary, stand next to the antenna because the show I was watching came in better when she was close to it.
Right. They always have those classic.
And back then it probably was very frustrating, but when you think about it now, it's funny.
Well, and that's like we joke around with how hard things were. Oh, my parents, they had to walk 4 miles in the snow. We
We
had to
had the
walk
best
across the shag
childhood.
rug. You know,
I'd say our generation had the best childhood because we knew what it was like to grow up without electronics. But now that we're older, we know what it's like to have the electronics. So we got the best of both worlds. That's the way I choose to look at it. So, and that's a lot of it is self talk. It's like, okay, maybe I will never know as much as other people as computers and stuff, but I learn and I'm ideal. I do good. I was taught. But, it's just the best. We had the best of both worlds. I truly believe that. Don't you believe? You know, everybody knew where their friends were. Look for the bicycles. Whatever house the bicycles are all at, that's where your friends were.
Well, and that's where it's different. Where now people don't even go to people's houses. It's like they
No,
play games online, and so they're antisocial skill. I mean, Travis and I go and do stuff.
right.
He's finally made friends, you know, at his work. He likes his work. I don't want to take that away from him. We saw Beetlejuice 2, you
Oh,
know.
don't tell me about that. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it. I'm
I'm
gonna
not
see it.
going
Not a
into it.
word. Not a word. Not a
I'm
word.
not saying anything. But two of my friends who have daughters that are Travis's age, they're like, one's in England and she saw it with her daughter.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. We're doing this whole generational thing,
Yep.
you know, that goes on. And then my other friend, she went with her daughter. And
Right.
so, you know, you capture these moments or whatever it is, and then you cherish them because you never know when they're going to be taken away.
No, you don't. I mean, with my family, it was always extremely goofy stuff I did with my kids. Like I had, I work and I went to college, so when I had time with my kids, I was made the best of it. My kid's favorite thing was I had, you know, those big camcorders back then. I had, and I would tell a story. I'd narrate it, and my kids would have to act it out in the backyard. They thought it was
Oh,
awesome. They got to dress up in costumes and do whatever, and it was hilarious as all hell. We used to do stuff like that, and you know, we'd have what is known as McDonald's night because I was a very, very busy girl, but I still McDonald's night because you know between the kids and raising and everything else. Okay, we couldn't afford to go out to eat, so let's deal with it. Okay, no problem. I had a big bag of toys from the dollar store I always had. So I'd either make homemade chicken nuggets and fries when I got out of work, and I'd put this big mat in front of the table, in front of the TV, so that way they would get the carpet greasy and they could sit there and eat whatever they wanted. Now, if they picked their dishes up, put it away, they got to pick a prize. But we would sit there and we'd watch a movie together. We called that McDonald's night. So my kids and I did a lot of stuff together, but a lot of it didn't really cost a lot of money. Where nowadays everything you do costs so much.
oh, I
You know,
know.
like a part of us, I feel, and I know I'm falling off track, has kind of lost the imagination. Like how you could just be drop literally. We were gone for the whole day. You know, we were as kids. We were gone for the whole day, and it was a really good childhood. But getting back to positivity, you need to practice healthy self talk. We talked about that. Take care of your physical health. Some of us have issues walking a long period of time. Okay, walk in a chair, yoga in a chair. There's always an alternate way to actually do something. Now you have a mother that's running around with two or three toddlers. Trust me, she gets enough exercise in the day. So I mean, it really depends. But the more that we're if we are able to move in some way, we need to move, you know, the way that we can. We find ways to actually move. For those that can't ride bikes, like I can't do the brakes on a bicycle. My hands don't work that well. And I crochet. I know it makes no sense. Anyways, so I can't close that. But I can do a stationary pedal bike. When I'm sitting there in my chair crocheting, I'm still getting exercise. I can, you know, go for walks. I have a dog, so and he keeps me safe. So do the positive self thing. And mothers and fathers have a tendency to sacrifice. Okay, and I think one of the things that I enjoy now is the fact that if I want apples, I can go out and get apples, and guess what? They're still in the fridge. That's that awesome. If I buy salad stuff, it's still in the fridge. I
Oh, if I
that's
have the
the
kids
good
eating
part.
it.
We don't always get that when we're parents and we're younger. You buy something, you still have your son with you. Now, if you have something special, will he eat it, or will he say, "No, my mother needs that"?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's we share our food, but we each have our own food also.
That's
So
good.
like yesterday, I don't know if he ate some of it last night because I was over at Frank's house, but and I got my food comps, but I know he loves cheesecake. I'm like,
Right.
You can have some of the cheesecake, or he'll just go in and he'll grab my food. I go, oh, you ate a donut? Yeah, you know.
Oh
And then
no, my
like,
kids wouldn't eat one. They eat all of it.
right. Well, I used to do the donut.
Yeah,
And then
it's bad.
like he bought these cookies, and I was looking for him in his room because I don't usually go in his room. And I said, oh, where are you cooking? We ended up trading, you know, with one thing for another. So we'll share the food. We'll
Right.
bring it home, or like he'll come in. He's like, I'm going to Dutch Brothers or whatever. Human Being is like, do you want a drink? So, and those things are like $8 a piece, you know. And so there's a lot of sharing going on
Yeah.
as far as what was going on is. So it all depends. We don't trip out on whose is what, and but we respect each other's stuff along with it. And a
Yeah,
lot of
my
times
kids
people,
didn't.
what?
My kids didn't. They never
Well,
did. What we got here? Linda says the isolation of the pandemic have really made it difficult, especially for teens and young adults. It made them comfortable without face-to-face socialization. True. I try to have my favorite snacks, but that's not happening at all with three kiddos. Exactly.
no, you
And
gotta
then,
hide it as a mom.
yeah, you can't hide fruit because my fruit's going to be in the fridge.
Right. They don't want. He'll see something in there, and he used to like say, "Oh, can I have a cookie?" And he'll grab two or three, and I can see it was hard for him. But like I said, it's like our personalities develop between age 3 and 5, and it
Yeah,
was funny because when I was pregnant with Travis, because they were both 10-pound babies and both tall. Travis's foot was hanging out on my stomach. You could see it.
damn.
And but that's his person. He's a very laid back person,
Right.
you know. And so you get to know that, like the thing with the food. My daughter was never happy with the food, and I gave her like $75. It's like, go buy your own stuff. And then the next day, like, there's no food. So it all depends. It was just like, Travis is grateful. We exchange because
Yes.
he's a lot like me. And then we got my daughter that it was never enough. You don't know
Yeah, it is.
whatever.
And we all have that. I could have an entire house full of food. And my
There's
youngest
no
son used to
food.
complain there was nothing to eat because there was nothing cooked that he could just
Right.
microwave easy. That's what it was. But let's see. Michelle says she goes to the bathroom to eat a Snickers bar. I like
What?
that. She goes to the bathroom and eats her Snickers bar.
Yeah, well, that's being a mom thing.
Yep.
We
And
hide our food.
Linda, this is funny. Linda says that she had to get her own fridge for the bedroom to keep the grandkids from eating everything that she brought at home in one
Right.
sitting. See, my problem is everything I eat, my daughter would only eat vegetables for the longest time. She wouldn't even eat red meat. So she wouldn't eat meat at all. And I don't eat red meat. I prefer like chicken, pork, but I do eat more vegetables and stuff than I do eat, except my vegetables aren't cooked, they're raw. So all my stuff is fresh. Really, really hard to hide fresh food. So, and then I'll buy some apples to go make a pie with. And it's hilarious. I'll sit there and I'll get the pie crust done. Everything goes from scratch. And I'll cut the apples up and I'll put them in there and I'll put all the seasonings and spices and all the stuff I want on there. And I turn around and I go the thing down. The pie's half empty already with apples. I turned around for 2 minutes.
Who eats all the apples?
The kids.
Okay, well, at least they're happy on that. I gotta hit another tone.
It's
Um,
funny.
so I think things are getting released. I don't know, with Susan and I talking about this, if this is triggering things with people on what we don't have, what we do have, or what we're working, what we have. But I gotta hit something. Again, somebody's like energy was screaming, or inner child was in pain, and I hear, sing, where they're singing along with me, but it's like they're in pain.
Huh. Well, we'll find out who it is if somebody comes in and yeah, everybody's liking Linda's own refrigerator in her room. When you buy fruit, puts them in the fridge. Some of the baby fridge. Oh, I'm by myself now. I just have my man and my dog. So the only one that bugs me for food is my dog. But I always buy stuff for my man too because he likes to. He eats differently than I do. But yet we'll eat together at the same time. He knows that I really like my salad stuff and stuff like that. So we get that. Boo, cut out cookies, please. It's not Halloween yet, my son. Crazy Org is my son. Jacob, my eldest.
What, he made a comment?
Yeah, he always does. He always asks me for baked goods during every show. He
We
actually
had,
asked me for turtle cookies one time, and I had everybody saying, "What is turtle cookies?" And when I explained it to him, everybody wanted the homemade recipe for turtle cookies.
we had a Halloween one year where we didn't have any money, we didn't have a car. My son was in his underwear, and people were knocking at the door, and we were trying to figure out what we could give them because we didn't
Yeah,
have anything. And you get to these points where you appreciate those small moments. Again, back to that, you have
right.
to been through the worst to appreciate the better. And
Yes,
and I think with my daughter, she never had to starve. She never had to do all that stuff. I
right,
always made sure. And so she's like, you weren't giving me enough. Well, you've never had to experience not having enough. Where Travis and I, God knows,
right,
probably better she wasn't around because we've had to go to the store and carry the bags,
right.
you know, pack mule, whatever it is that goes on. And it's almost like a normal thing. Oh, this has disappeared. That's disappeared. We're going to work on this or whatever's going on. And so once people experience the more worse stuff, like right now, I'm going through this whole like I don't want to go through this again type of thing. So I'm
Right.
gonna lock it in my brain.
Yeah, and sometimes it's okay to lock it up, and other times it's we have to confront it. And that's usually the hardest thing is confronting our own issues. Like me confronting my own issues with my lack of confidence and no matter what I do, it's not good enough type attitude. And that is something that still to this day I struggle with. I struggle with I'm just not good enough to do this, good enough to do that. Why do people want to listen to me type attitude? And that is something that I've had to really work on in order to maintain the positivity. I mean, I've had a lot of positive and good things come to me that has helped me along on my road. And I've noticed that getting back involved with the Rift Network has helped a lot. Revamping what I like to do for creativity is really helped a lot. And definitely the biggest thing, guys, is stay away from negative people. And I know it's a very difficult thing to do, but Marcy and I have both told you before. Sometimes if somebody doesn't fit, or you're leaving feeling drained or depressed, it's not their fault. It's just you've outgrown that individual. You've grown into a different direction,
Well,
and that happens with friends and everybody.
you don't realize how strong their energy is going into your aura,
Right?
and so you'll walk around and get depressed or get angry or whatever it is that's going on, and they're not
Exactly.
acknowledging anything, and it's hard.
It really is. Especially I think for moms or single moms or single dads or couples with kids or grandparents raising their kids. The hardest part of all of this positivity is to remember to take care of yourself. And you need to do that physically, mentally, emotionally. I mean, if you want to get into yoga, I mean, make it a game with the other kids. I mean, when I needed to start exercising a little more, I bought a Wii. Now, my kids wanted to do the interactive Wii physical fitness level with me because they want to beat me. To me, I didn't care. I was getting up and I was moving. So it worked. So it's like just kind of altering things a little bit here and there in order to help you out because that was one of my things. I needed to get moving. I need to work through pain. When you're laughing, you don't feel it. So I did. I had a lot of good times with them. So I was really good. But real quick here, let's see. Develop a morning routine. That's something to help you out. Set time to take care of yourself. Extremely important here to stay positive. Celebrate all your accomplishments. Seek positive relationships. Set realistic goals. Practice positive self talk in stressful situations. Engage in activities that promote a positive mindset. Optimize your workspace. Well, I'm still working on that one. Let's see. Practice mindfulness or meditation. And again, positivity, guys, can be something that can change your life immensely. It's a very difficult thing to do, but it's also a very good thing to do. So, Marcy, any
Well,
last
and
words? As I've
also,
been fanning myself through the whole show, yeah,
what?
I've been fanning myself. I
It's
need to get a
okay.
fan.
Well, and also you got to remember to get you guys to do stuff. They had that hypnotist on TV, and I've said this before. 90% is emotional, 10% is intellectual. You want to do something? What is the reward? What am I going to reward myself with? What is going to make me happy on whatever this energy is? And you got to switch that energy
Exactly.
to be more positive on whatever it is that's going on.
Exactly. It's all a process, says Linda.
It
It
is,
is. It
and
is.
it's
It's a big process.
and it's many layers too. And it's like you don't know when these images are going to flash up to you of whatever it is that's going on. And that's what I was saying. Ask what your soul wants.
Exactly.
You know,
I think the biggest thing with me is I have learned to laugh with myself, not
right?
at myself, with. So
Well,
I've learned just to enjoy it. You know, you make a mistake and it's funny, go with it.
one of the things my therapist said, because I had a sense of humor, my mom had a sense of humor, and
Right.
that was part of our bond. About she was very sarcastic, where my other two sisters don't have it. But he said I had two different types of laughs. One was like a laughing to at myself because that was all part of being included because they were
Right.
always laughing at me. Or so I would put myself down or I would do it and then I'd have this other laugh. So it is interesting as to we have to see what our laughter is. Is it a real laughter or is it a laughter to fit in or a laughter and so that was kind of interesting. And when I had my session with him, he had me look at like a brown wall so that I couldn't look at any pictures. I couldn't look at him. I'd had to focus on. He was a really good therapist, and he said I
Huh.
had a fear of whatever I did would be taken away, and that's
Wow. Yeah.
where this cathartic thing with my daughter and her children and whatever it is, you know.
Right.
Travis, on the other hand, is very protective of me, and it's like, and I think because he's seen what it's like. Well, what do you want? Like we were in the store. He goes, oh, I said I'm not getting so. He goes, I'm gonna get you a drink, because the diabetes or whatever it is that's going
Yeah.
on.
And he worries, and that's I like that. It's sweet. All right, we got 1 minute left, Marcy. Any last words or last tones or anything
Yeah,
that
one
you'd like
last
to say
tone.
about?
Oh, that was an interesting one, and I'm burping again, so something released out of you, Susan. I thought you
Well,
haven't done the burping the whole time.
yeah.
You do
No,
look
I haven't
better.
burped yet. I'm actually doing pretty good today. I am
I
having a
know.
really good day.
So those
So,
bubble energies, you know,
yeah,
it's like
I'm getting there.
I live by the moment, or I try to, but then the other part of me is like, but I need to look at that adult side. So it goes back and forth. But to be blissful, when you know no matter when you don't have any money and you're feeling blissful, you know you've worked through something, you
True.
know, despite everything else. And there's times I've lost money completely, and I work through it, and I'm like, okay, I'm happy, and you know, just work through those energies, let go of that carbon energy because that's what's weighing us down,
Exactly.
and work it through. I know it's hard, and just if you have a surface, if you have a memory, you have a trigger, feel it, work it through. Like
Exactly.
what is this string or this chain or this energy that's going on?
I agree. And you know what, guys? Don't give up. And don't give up on yourselves. Even if you feel that what you're doing is never good enough, not enough people care to listen. It's not that. It's do not give up on yourself. Don't give up on what you want to do, what you'd like to accomplish. Don't do that. And don't forget to check out the Orion Effect on Sunday. I think it's part 2 of a show. And I'm going to go back and crochet some monsters. I'm having a lot of fun with this. So these are fun. I like goofy. So I'm going to do that. And don't forget, Marcy and I will be back next week. I have no idea what we'll be talking about. I'm sure I'll guess something either
I don't
through
either. I
a
just
post
I
or.
forgot it. I'm like, what are we talking about today? She goes,
Yeah.
oh, we're talking about happiness. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't see
This
anything. And I
has a
guess
reason. I've been listening to my guys that say talk about this, talk about that, talk about this, talk about that. It's like, all right,
well, yeah, and you
talk
said
about
that you're not sharing, then usually you say, well, we're going to be talking about this, but I guess because you're not sharing because I don't know.
that. No, you could just go on, and we can talk about this in a minute. You could just go right on the Rift Nation Network,
Or
and
ask you right
all the
before the show,
description of
what
the
are we
show is
talking
there.
about?
So you guys have a good time, have a good weekend. I am going to create a whole bunch of more little, not so little monsters, and I'm having a blast with these things. So they're a lot of fun, and Marcy got to see one already. So I have a bunch of really cool colors that are going to be coming out for these guys. So
All right, you
it's
guys.
a lot of fun, but peace, love you, never give up, never quit, and remember, guys, you are good enough.
Love,
Okay,
peace, and
and you
granola.
are loved. Loved. I should probably look for the ending of the show, huh?
That'd be good.
Bye!